Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, AI Fundamentals, the Small Business Owner's Playbook, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. And we are excited to announce that this is the first webinar in a brand new monthly series on AI. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box, and we will address them at the end of the session, time permitting. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. So now we are kicking things off a little differently today because when the topic is AI, why not let AI speak for itself?
Hi, I'm Lori Zioli's AI-generated twin, and I have one job, to introduce the woman who built me. Lori Zioli is the CEO and founder of Explore Rise AI Advisors, a people-first firm based in Annandale, Virginia. For over 27 years, she has sat at the intersection of training, software development, and change management, serving as a trusted bridge between technology and the people who use it. Last year, she founded Explore Rise AI Advisors on a conviction most organizations are still catching up to. The greatest competitive advantage a company has is its people, and AI should empower their roles and not replace them. Her mission is straightforward. Equip your workforce with the right AI skills. Turn your people into your competitive edge. She calls it amplifying human brilliance. I call it why I exist. Please welcome Lori Zioli.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Sheila, and my AI twin. That's actually not me, that was AI generated, for that warm introduction. And thank you to Virginia SBDC for sponsoring the session. And most importantly, thank you to all of you for joining today. For the next 60 minutes, I will be presenting you a practical playbook around AI that is tailored for your business. So who is ready? All right, perfect. What does this playbook include? We only have 1 hour, but I wanted you all to get a lot of value from this webinar. So I jam-packed a lot of information into these 4 categories. So here are the key takeaways that I want you to leave after the session. Number 1 is a clear understanding of AI. Let's start with knowing the current landscape for you and your competitors, being aware of current trends, having familiarity with the basic AI terminology, and finally, demystifying what is a myth and what is reality surrounding AI. Number 2 is starting point. Once you gained more clarity, it is easier for you to find your starting point with AI. And once you do have your starting point, we will discuss ideas to help you with your decision making. Finally, we conclude with considerations to incorporate into your game plan on adopting AI responsibly as well as confidently. So depending on time, I do have some bonus materials to share with you. All right, so first is getting clarity on AI. So 2 years ago, AI was more of a buzzword. In 2025, the market was starting to see how technology is disrupting industries. Today, in 2026, we are experiencing how AI is affecting how we work. By being here in this webinar, you are already 10 steps away from your competitors. Why? Because leaders like you who are investing time and effort in understanding AI and how to optimize its capabilities to grow your business, that is what sets you apart. So the next set of slides can help land this concept. Let's take a look at them. So it's not just the hips, but the numbers don't lie either. So look at the staggering data points on AI adoption just for 2 years. And this doesn't even count or capture what is happening today in 2026. The US Chamber of Commerce surveyed about 3,900 small businesses, 3,870, as you can see in there. And the AI adoption, what they found is that the AI adoption for small businesses jumped from 23% in 2023. Funny how those numbers coincide, to about 40% in 2024. But look at this. Look at that jump in 2025 last year, 58% in 2025. So this is your current landscape. Here's another one. Another reason that the market is talking about AI. The gap between small and large businesses on the AI use is nearly gone. This is 2025. The key takeaway from this slide is that AI is now enabling you, small business owners, to access the same technology and their capabilities as do larger enterprises. So this is your time. This is your window of opportunity. Now that we have seen some statistics, let's circle back on the main question. What is AI? Well, we can ask this question 50 times and we will probably get 50 different variations on the answer. So instead of defining it, I'd rather present it using an analogy. So again, think of AI as an intern or employee, but it works faster for you 24/7. As with an intern or an employee, yes, it does learn from information, but it's the volume of information that makes AI distinctly different. Number two, as with an intern or employee, yes, it does respond to the instructions you provide, but it is the speed that it can respond to your instructions and to provide output that makes it so powerful. Number three, it does need clear direction to do good work. And we'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about prompting. And as with an intern or employee, yes, it does make mistakes. It has gotten better. You may have heard the term hallucination. It does make mistakes, but it is getting better and better. These models are getting better and better. But it does make mistakes, especially if you don't have oversight. And again, that's another term that we will talk about, human in the loop, in the next couple of slides. And finally, the more you train it, the better the outcome will be. All right, so we talked about a couple of terminology. Just as important to understand the concept of AI is having knowledge to the terminology associated with it. So here we go with just a few. Generative AI or Gen AI. So that's essentially AI that is generating new content. Now, it could be the text, it could be new text, information, it could be image, audio, video, and now what the hype is the code. So it's generating these based on your instructions. Well, how do you provide the instructions? It's through prompting. And these are the instructions that you or questions that you give AI tool. So let me pause because Sheila, there were a couple of freebies that I provided. If you want, I can't see the chat, but if you want to put that in the chat with those PDFs that I sent on some techniques on prompting, I'm happy to share that with the rest of the crowd.
I will, I can do that. I also will include it in our follow-up email at the end. So
Perfect.
thank
All right,
you.
so I have a lot of freebies in here. All right. So in addition to prompt, we have the LLMs. You have heard a lot of them. This is the technology behind ChatGPT, which is probably what's most popular. Then you have Claude, then you have Gemini. So the LLMs are trained on three things, or there are three components to make it a true LLM. Number one is they are trained on massive data so that they can understand, predict, and number two, generate language, which is why it's the large language model. And it's looking and doing this based on pattern that it sees. By the way, I just wanted to ask, what are the different LLMs that you are familiar with or you have heard? So here's a quick trivia. There are about 20 to 30 major foundational model families. So you saw three of them. Then you also have Meta Llama, you have DeepSeek, you have XAI Grok. There are about 20 to 30 of them. You may have heard, however, in some articles that there are 200,000 variations, not of LLMs, but variations of their models. So, for example, GPT has 4.1, GPT Mini, GPT Nana, and then you have Claude, Claude Haiku, Claude Sonnet, Claude Opus. So collectively, that is what is pushing the numbers that you may see on articles on the number of LLMs. So I just want to clarify that it's not necessarily the number of LLMs, but it's the variations behind it. So I hope that helps. Then you have human in the loop, my favorite and most important concept. That is when you have a person stay involved with your AI process, whether it is approving, taking a look at information first before you are sharing it in the public eye. And last but not least is AI agents. This term is used interchangeably, but there are really three components to make something an agent. Number one is it is created so that it is completing a goal. Number two, it takes actions through your instructions. And this is important. It is doing it autonomously, meaning it is making the decisions on its own. Now, AI agents are great. AI agents with human in the loop is that much better. So these are the vocabulary or some of the terminology that I wanted to add in this slide. So here are some techniques I want to share with you on how to write better prompts. Number one is give it a role. Tell AI who you want it to be. In this example, you can put in your prompt, act as, say, an expert in marketing for a marketing copywriter for a small HVAC company. Also give it a goal. Remember, we're talking about the goal. That's what makes it agentic, make it an agent. So in this example, write a 3-sentence follow-up email after a service estimate. Now, there are two AI school of thought. One AI community may say start with the goal first. One AI community may say start with the role first. It really doesn't matter. I'm in both. As long as these two components are in your prompt, that's what's important. We go into the context. This is where you give it relevant details. And so it could be the client asked about our AC replacement. Our price is $4,800. Now, this context, I simplified it. What you'll see in a lot of the prompts now is a link to their knowledge base, to their website, to their knowledge resources, so that it is allowing AI to only look for information based or only look at the information that is provided to them. This is a simplified information right over here, or example, where it says our price is $4,800. Then you have it, give it some guardrails or constraints, set the limits, keep it to 100 words, do not make any assumptions. And finally, what is the output that you want? Specify the format, for example, or provide it in a table format, different variations. But this is just one example of a prompt using the fundamentals or the components to it. All right. Next, my favorite. As somebody who lives, breathes, eats, researches AI 24/7, I hear many AI myths. And I selected these top 3 I hear most often. My goal is to help you be aware of them so that you can make smarter decisions. Number 1, myth number 1, AI will replace all jobs. What we are seeing and what research is showing us, pretty good data actually, data points, is that AI is replacing the activities that are repetitive, for example, invoice processing or data entry, that are rule-based, that are pattern-driven, or that are data-heavy. So if somebody's job is strongly tied to these types of activities, then they're the ones whose job may be heavily impacted. Now, remember too that AI automatically it automates specific tasks. So it's not the entire role or the entire job. Most roles have a mix of tasks. And so AI handles those that are repetitive, rule-based, pattern-driven, or data-heavy. And what we're also finding now, early 2026 data points that we're seeing, is that new roles are emerging as old ones are being replaced. Myth number 2, you need to be technical to use AI. As you can see in that prompt, most modern AI tools are built for natural language. So as long as you can type a sentence, you can start using AI. I do want to say that technical skills, they're important. They're helpful when you are creating advanced use cases, but they are not required in order for somebody to start using AI. The last myth, implementing and adopting AI is just like adopting any other technology tool we have used before. Every tool before AI did help people do their work faster. Now, here's where AI is different. It does this, plus it can actually do the work for the humans. So what does this mean? Bringing AI into your business is not just a software upgrade. It is a change in your overall strategy on how your people work using AI, how they will adopt it, and how your business operates now that you are using AI. And that requires a very thoughtful plan. So let's get into the golden nuggets starting point. If you can only come out with one key takeaway from this webinar, I want it to be this. The questions shouldn't be, should I use chat? Should I use Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, Grok? They're all competing with each other. So every day there's always a new capability that they release. My humble suggestion, depending on where you are with your AI journey, take one business problem and ask, how can AI solve this business problem? Or what is this business problem that I want to solve using AI? Sometimes AI may not be the right solution. Maybe it is a people problem. So trust me, this is the number one and most costly mistake AI users are doing. Let's continue. Based on research, here are the top 4 business problems that small business owners want to solve. So ask yourself right now, which of these areas cost you the most time every week? Where are you losing time and money? Then that is your starting point. Starting with the admin tasks. Small business owners spend an average of 36% of their work week on admin tasks. That's the invoicing, data entry, scheduling, and bookkeeping. And by the way, this is based on a survey or research done by Sage. That's nearly 2 working days a week doing tasks that don't directly generate revenue. So you do the math, that is 24 full working days per year doing admin alone. And that's the equivalent of working 13 months, but getting paid for about 12. Next, is this where you're losing time and money, communication and research? And let me just adjust something real quickly in mine. Okay. In 2024, Salesforce Slack surveyed 2,000 small business owners. And what they found is that they are losing 1.5 hours every single day to wasted time searching for information in the wrong places, repeating messages across platforms, switching between 45 different digital tools daily. And what that equates to is about $39,000 a year in lost productivity for a business owner valuing their time at about $100. So this is based on a Salesforce survey. Next, let's take a look at customer service. The average effectiveness of customer service experiences dropped 64% 2 years ago in 2024, meaning more than a third of our customer interactions are falling short. I get it. Small businesses can't afford dedicated customer service staff, so inquiries can go unanswered, follow-ups get dropped, and leads go cold. Inconsistent follow-up, by the way, is one of the top reasons small businesses lose sales they already earned, according to Zendesk. And the last marketing research that we did is on marketing. 73% of small businesses globally are not confident of their marketing strategy, that their marketing strategy is not working. Your budget constraints, lead generation efforts, and proving the ROI. Those are the top 3 pain points. So most small businesses, what they found through our research by BizIQ is that most small business owners are creating content, running ads, posting on social media without a clear system, spending time and money with no way to measure what is actually driving the results. So take a look at these 4 components or 4 areas and see which one could be your starting point. Now, the natural question would be to ask, I've identified the business problem, so what AI tool should I use? So I'm going to pause and show you my dashboard, a screenshot of my dashboard. The point I am making is that there are thousands of AI tools out there, and more are being launched every day. And this is where the AI noise comes from. Bombardment of advertisements for each one of these tools. So what can you do? Let me try to help you navigate this. Before you sign up for anything, these are the 5 questions that I typically ask along with my customers on how to choose the right AI tool. Number 1, what specific problem does this solve? It's a no-brainer. It should be used to solve the problem that you're trying to solve. Number 2, who owns my data and my customers' data? Very important. Learn their privacy policies and review and research their compliance with industry standards. 3, does it integrate with my existing tools? See if it integrates with your email, CRM, calendar, existing tools that you have, because isolated tools create more work for you, which is not what you want. How steep is the learning curve? Even if an AI tool is very good at what it does, if it's too hard to use, you and your team will likely not use it, and that's where adoption will fail. Last thing, a lot of people skip this. Ask if other people actually receive the positive ROI from using that tool. Read success stories or ask vendors if they can provide you before and after results. Typically, it's on their website, or there are so many outlets now where you can find information about specific tools. So conduct these research. Next question is, once I know how to pick it, how many do I need? My recommendation, pick one or two that works first. And as you become more comfortable, add more as needed. Sometimes you may want to swap things out. So here's what I want to share. For my admin tasks, I started out with Gemini and Google Calendar. Then I started looking at Calendly. I loved it. Now I'm using Claude Skills and Claude Cowork and basically automating all of my admin tasks. So it was a progression. It evolved. Communication and research. This was another section. Again, I started out with LLMs. Then I became fascinated with Comment and Perplexity. And then I started using Grammarly to help me with my writing as well, and Otter AI. There's so many, but I just like Otter AI in terms of providing transcripts for my webinars and meetings. Customer service. This is where you have your chatbots that come into play. If you have a CRM system, that's where they're used as well. And last but not least, your marketing. Again, I use LLMs for my communication and research. I also used it for my marketing. Then I became much more interested in very good products out there. So I used Canva, Gamma, HeyGen, and all of these different tools for me. So it's different for everybody. But the point is, start with one or two and you get better and better at it and you become more familiar and start adding more. All right, recap about our playbook. Number one, start asking, what's the business problem I want to solve with AI? Number two, look at your activities, pinpoint which department or activities where you are losing time or money. Three, research. Review the tools that are currently solving those business problems. Test them out. Look at the results. Finally, decide if you want to use it or not. Right. Next is planning, which is also a very critical component of your strategy. What is AI governance? AI governance refers to the set of tools that your business follows around AI. So you want to know who is using AI, which team members, which department, and for what reason. You want to know what data is going into these AI tools. Finally, who is reviewing the information? Remember, human in the loop? That's what this is. You want to have human oversight before outputs go out to your customers or to the public eye. Why does it matter for your small business? From PathOp, I found this important information that they have, which is you are legally responsible for every output your business produces. So whether it's human created or AI created, it's not the software vendor, but you. So just keep that in mind. You can read the information that I have at the bottom at your own leisure when you have these slides. But the point is, think about these three components: the legal liability, the trust for your client, and also the data exposure, the cybersecurity. That's where it comes into place. 3 non-negotiables. These are 3 items that I have in place with my customers before we scale the AI. Number 1 is acceptable use rules. We always define what teams, what roles can use AI. And also, we want to understand the client data and confidential information. How are they being protected? Number 2, checkpoints. Again, human in the loop. Where are we going to have human in the loop in our processes? Where are we identifying these? Where are these critical points that we identified where we have human in the loop in the process? And last but not least, keep an inventory of all the AI tools. Trust me, it starts adding up. You want to know which AI tools you're using, for what data it's touching, and also who's responsible. So all of these three combined, these three non-negotiables, they far beat a 50-page SOP or policy that probably a lot of your teams may not read or may not have time to read. So start simple. All right, I'm going to pause right here. I see the time. And so, Sheila, I can't see anything except for my screen. What would you like to do? Would you like me to go with the bonus materials, probably for another 2 minutes? Or would you like to start the Q&A session?
We don't have that many questions in the Q&A, so how about go ahead and do bonus materials? And I think we should have time for our questions at the end.
Perfect.
So thank you for
Perfect.
asking.
Absolutely. Okay. I added information about your online presence because this is something that we're seeing starting to shift as well. So, what happens in Google? Everyone is familiar with SEO, search engine optimization. You type, for example, find me plumbers near my area. That's what I did yesterday. And Google, of course, returns a list, map the pins, ads, the star ratings, website links, etc. However, your customer still has to click, they still have to compare, they still have to read the reviews and decide. So, your job as a business owner using SEO is really to show up in that list. That's what SEO is all about. Now, let's clear up the confusion. You may have heard or you may not have heard what AEO is all about. That's why I wanted to bring it in here as a bonus. AEO stands for Answer Engine Optimization. This is the AI on top of the SEO. So, search engine optimization, it is how you show up in Google's blue links. You pay somebody to do it, figured it out yourself, or you are still on their to-do list. Either way, it matters. Here's what is changing right now. More and more people are no longer typing into Google, they're asking AI. So that's where the LLMs come into place. They're opening it up in ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and saying, find me a plumber near me. And here's the critical difference. Google shows you a list, but AI gives you an answer. One business, maybe two, not 10 blue links, an actual recommendation. So that is what AEO is about, answer engine optimization. It means making sure that when AI answers a question your customer is asking, your business is the answer to it. So here's the next slide, right? This is just a joke. I call myself boss lady for my AI, but I typed in the same question in Claude, find me plumbers near me. And look at the output. It's slightly different. You type the same thing and AI gives you the direct answer. In here, as you can see, it also asks the customer may say, what kind of plumbing issue do you have? The customer may never see a list of links at all. They act on what the AI tells them. So Google shows you the options, AI makes the recommendation. And when AI makes the recommendation, the businesses that get mentioned are the ones the AI has learned to trust through their website content, through their structure, through their reviews. And so, why does it matter to you? If you're a small business but never thought about how AI describes your business may be invisible to an entire generation or a set of buyers that no longer starts with Google. So, just something to think about. Look at these numbers. As of 2025, 69% of Google searches end without a single click. So people are getting their answers directly on their results page and increasingly from AI. So that number was 56% 2 years ago. It's 69% in 2025. So Gardner predicts that by 2026 today, traditional research volume will drop 25% as users are shifting to AI assistance. So, just another consideration in terms of having your online presence use AEO in addition to SEO. So, in my concluding remarks, before we go into the Q&A, I hoped that you found this fundamentals playbook session valuable when you are navigating the noise around AI. You gained the knowledge of the current landscape. Check. You gained more clarity, hopefully, about the concept of AI and the surrounding myths versus reality. Check. You gained familiarity with terminology. Check. And you gain strategies on how you can start using AI with your business. Check. Now, where AI fits into your business is step one. Turning the playbook that I provided into a strategic plan is step two. And having a well thought out AI roadmap, it takes time, it takes energy, and it takes resources. And that's exactly the kind of step that you really shouldn't be taking alone. So I conclude with information from Virginia SBDC. And if you would like to join my newsletter, it's free. You get one AI tip or technique every Monday, something that I use to support communities that are full of business owners and just want to get information without getting bombarded every single day. So I will leave this information in here and conclude the presentation. And Sheila, take it away. Let me know how I can help.
Of course.
Of
We
course.
have had a few questions come in throughout the session today, so I'm going to start back at the beginning. One of our first questions, and you may have covered this later, but I always like to reiterate it just because I think it's good to help us learn. The first question was, is Copilot considered an LLM?
Copilot is not necessarily just an LLM. It is almost as if it's an agent working with an LLM. So Copilot, if I am hearing it correctly, it's Microsoft Copilot versus just a regular Copilot. Is that correct?
I'm going to say
Say
yes.
it's
We'll
a
see.
Microsoft Copilot
And Brian, if you want to drop that answer into the Q&A,
because we
we'll
use
confirm.
Copilot also in outside of it
Yes, the answer
Microsoft
was yes.
Copilot. So I typically don't use Microsoft Copilot. I'm in the Google space, but yes, in terms of Microsoft Copilot, I wouldn't just say it's an LLM. It is using the LLM component or the capabilities, but it also can be used as an agent, depending on your use of Microsoft. I think Microsoft now has the Studio. And if you're using Microsoft Studio, then that's when you can use Copilot to another level. You can push Copilot to another level. So it is becoming an agentic AI that is using the capabilities of an LLM. So I wouldn't just, yes, it is an LLM, but that's not the only thing that Copilot is. I hope that answers your question, Brian.
Well, I think too, moving forward, we'll probably do a little deeper dives in the AI topic, right? So we'll cover a lot more of it moving forward. Next question was, um, so you had put an example at the beginning, and they're asking, is it helpful to indicate a geographic area your business is in so that pricing is looked at as relevant to your geographic area or other factors that might differentiate pricing for you?
Pricing for the AI tools?
I'm thinking it was when you were just at the very beginning, and Sharon, if
Let me
you
go
want
back.
to elaborate on
Back to
this
help.
in our Q&A, it was back when you were doing an example of putting information in to get responses, and we'll see if
Is
Sharon,
it the prompts?
yes, I think it was the prompts.
Is this it, Sharon?
Let's see. Sharon might have had to drop off. All right, how about we go to another question and we'll come back to
Okay.
Sharon's question. Let's see. Are there Microsoft 365 AI capabilities, I can't speak, that you like?
I don't use Microsoft as much, but I do use Copilot on a couple of instances where I have to work with a client that is on a Microsoft 365 platform. Um, Now, in terms of what we're using mostly the studio version. And so that's where we are using it on the agentic platform. But in this case, if you're taking a look at, Microsoft Word, and if you're comparing it with, say, an LLM, I'll go more with LLM just because it has more capabilities. So I try not to use or be uh, one with a favorite tool because that wouldn't be fair for me, nor will it be fair for my customers. It is changing so rapidly. And that is why I would say if your business problem is being solved by Microsoft tools, if you are already in the Microsoft platform, if you're already familiar with Microsoft tools, then that's actually a good cue that you start taking a look at Copilot and the capabilities that it has to help you solve your business problem. So, again, that's also what we talked about right over here. And I forgot where you remember how I said in here, does it integrate with my existing tools? Well, if you're already using a lot of Microsoft tools, then that's a good way to say, I'm going to take a look at Copilot and explore and a deep dive a little bit more about its capabilities.
Great. Okay, so back to that question about the pricing. Sharon was talking about, so if you want to know if your pricing is in line with your competitors and you're using AI to answer that for you, would you put in the geographic area so that it does fall in line with the area that you're in?
You can. That's actually a good point. But what we're seeing right now too, it's not just geographical, but it's industry to industry because the landscape is becoming flatter and flatter. I would say, is it Sharon? I would say instead of just keeping it to your geographic, take a look at the industry as well. Because what we're seeing is the reach and the use of AI in terms of your business, it's no longer just limited to where you're located, the state, but take a look at the industry as well. And remember, smaller businesses too are competing with larger businesses, right? And so that's another consideration for you to think about where it's no longer isolated, but take a look at the industry itself in addition to the geographic landscape.
Next question. Any recommended AI tools for building
I knew you were
websites?
gonna I knew they were gonna say that.
You knew it was coming.
um, okay. So Lovable has become more popular because it is a way for somebody who is not technical to create a prototype, keyword prototype on how to prototype of a website. Now, once you have that prototype, you still have to have the structure and the engine behind that website. There are so many. GoDaddy allows you to create one. Um, WordPress. I used my own CRM to create my website. So again, that's one way that you can stay lean too. If you have a CRM and if that CRM has the ability to create a website, then do it. For example, Go High Level is one where you can use that CRM but also create a website. But I wouldn't say that I have a favorite just because, again, every business problem is different and also every budget is different. So take a look though at Lovable as a starting point to create your website prototype. And then use your LLM. Actually, here you go. Use your LLM to give you information as to this is my budget. Remember how we talked about the right here? This is actually good. Remember how we talked about prompting? Here's one that I can give you. Okay. You can say in here, and I'm not sure, is it Sharon or the name of the lady?
Let's see.
You
Yes,
can say,
Sharon.
yeah, you can say, here, start out with your goal. I want to create my own website. Boom. That's it. That's your goal. Your role is a website researcher and give me information about the top five website hosting tools or website creating tools. I already have a CRM. You can put that in here in your contacts too. My budget is XYZ. Give me, and your outcome is give me five options to select from and tell me why. So use LLM to actually help answer that question that you have. That actually is perfect in order to showcase how to write better prompts with that type of question that you have.
All right, so we have about 12 questions and 15 minutes. So
Woo!
that's, yeah.
Oh, they came in at
Um,
the end.
yeah, of course, right? So I currently pay for Chat GPT. Is it possible to compare other AI models to Chat GPT without paying for them? They're not sure if the free versions would be an apples to apples comparison to a paid version.
Mm-hmm. Definitely paid version. And the free version is good for you to start out and see how it is. Now, remember, free version or the paid version, you also get the more guardrails associated with it. It will allow you to look at you and establish your quote unquote second brain. And why? Because with the paid version, you have the ability to, without getting too technical, establish your protocols, your settings, your instructions, the way you're training your chat GPT, your LLM. With a free version, it doesn't keep all of that. So sometimes it may hallucinate more because it doesn't remember, oh, this is what Lori's voice sounds like. Oh, this is her, um, you know, her ICPs. Um, this is her framework. It doesn't remember all that. And so you're not using it as effectively as if you were using a paid version of an LLM of a chat GPT. I would go with a paid version, my humble
Let's
opinion.
okay. Let's see. So, can you So, Brian would like you to clarify. So, AI tools use LLMs to produce responses. Is that correct?
You write, use a prompt to put into an LLM to get a response.
Okay. And then, so LLMs are not an AI tool we use directly.
LLM is a type of an AI tool, large language model.
Okay. Let's see. What strategies can you employ digitally to improve your chances of being found in AEO?
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's a good one. I'm glad I actually put that. Okay, there we go. With AEO, put FAQs in your website. And that way, when somebody is typing in an LLM, what is this uh, component in my HVAC, right? If they're doing research, if that information is somehow answered in your FAQ in your website, then LLM or the AI will pick it up. So FAQs are super important. Also, having Google reviews is just as important. And also having information on your website where it is very specific, meaning it's no longer describing what you do, but answering questions in terms of case studies. That's actually a good one. We worked with X, Y, and Z. This is their problem. This is their output. These are the strategies that we use to solve their problem. Very simple, very basic, but that's what AI will pick up. It's none of the images, and it's actually text based. So the more you write about your results versus just putting it in a pretty graph, which AI doesn't pick up as easily, text FAQs are your go-tos to help you get picked up faster.
Okay. Let's see. So, can an LLM give reliable recommendations for other AI products, and how can we find out what the ROI typically is for a product?
Yep, you can use different LLMs, and this is where the free version comes in. It's called LLM as a judge. So if you have a prompt or a question that you ask in ChatGPT, take that output. Here's the strategy that I use. Take that output and plug it in into Claude and say, "Hey Claude, this is what ChatGPT provided me. Can you review this and tell me where it may not be as accurate?" Claude gives you that outcome. Now you can either go back to ChatGPT and say, "Hey ChatGPT, guess what? I use Claude to review your work." So that's why it's called an LLM judge. So that's one way to keep things accurate in terms of your output. Or you can continue to use that same output from ChatGPT to Claude. You can also put it into Perplexity and then start looking at the output and see which of those are more reliable based on your analysis. So that's what we call an LLM as a judge. You can either ask the same question to three different types of LLMs, or you can have the LLM judge what the output is from the other LLM. There was another question in there that you mentioned. I want to make sure that I answer it.
Yeah, let me go back.
There's something about
How can we find out what the ROI typically is for a product?
mhm. So look at the number of hours that it has saved up based on its use. So here's an example, a very simplified version of understanding your ROI. If it takes somebody 3 hours to write an SOP, right? Or let's do marketing. If it takes 3 hours for somebody to create an ad or a campaign for your company, but then you use Canva or you use a combination of different AI tools, Canva, and then you LLM with it, and then you got your HeyGens. And if it only costs you, say, you know, 10, 20, $30 to use all three, and that's per year or per month, did you save, and it took them, 30 minutes to create that? Obviously, that's a high ROI, right? It's 3 hours versus 30 minutes. And how much are you paying your employee to do that 3 hour job? And how much did you save by them just doing it in 30 minutes? And even if you do have that expense of $30, you remove that as an operating cost, you're still ahead of the game, right? So that's just a simplified way of getting you to understand if your ROI on the use of that tool is is high. It is where it's supposed to be. And that's why I say start with one or two tools first. A lot of people just buy everything all at once, and that goes against their margin. So just take one tool at a time, test it out, take your time and see if it works, right? Put it over 3 weeks and see if it works, or put it over 2 weeks and see if it's working in terms of the time it takes for somebody to do a repetitive job. That
Um,
answer, I want to make sure that they're getting the answers that they need. So please let me know.
right. Yeah, I will just ask if, yeah, to drop in the Q&A if your question was not answered, you can go
Yeah,
ahead and put
please
that.
let me
Let's see. Um, so how are AI recommendations selected since there have been conversations surrounding AI bias? Let's say, for example, I donate a large sum of money to one of the AI companies. In exchange, my company will be recommended 80% of the time. Any thoughts on that?
know. I don't know what company that is, but I wasn't sure what the arrangement is on why they would get your money first. But what the main question is on bias.
Um, yeah, how are AI recommendations selected since there's been conversations on bias? Do you not feel that that's something that we need to worry about?
Yeah, I would say I wasn't I'm not quite sure. If you can please clarify what you mean by bias,
Okay. And I
that
don't
would
know
help
who,
me
that was an
answer the
anonymous
question.
attendee.
Yeah.
So I'll just ask that they maybe be a little more specific.
Yep.
Let's
Help answer
see.
the question.
Here's someone asking about using Claude to create a website. Your thoughts on that?
Mhm. So, Claude Code is something that folks are using to create a website. You can absolutely do that now that no code work is gaining more track. I do want to caution you, just because you create a website doesn't mean that it is created with the backbones needed in order for you to be found online, right? Remember what I said in here, right? So you want to make sure that when you're creating your website with Claude, be familiar with the structure so that it is schema. If you are creating your website, you should be familiar with the schema. That your schema is there so that it is found by the from an SEO standpoint, and it is also found from an AEO standpoint. Remember, like I said, to when you're creating your website, make sure that you have your FAQs. That's one area that can push your ability to be seen online a lot more than folks that don't have the FAQ. But yes, you can create your website, but creating it is the easy part. Make sure that you have the schemas associated with the SEO and the AEO.
Thank you. And I'm going to say too, we also do another webinar on website creating websites. So
That's a good one.
I recommend you all to look at our website, to the SBDC website that I dropped in the chat, and look at upcoming webinars as well. Okay, another question: GPT versus Claude. What's your recommendation? And I'm going to read all of it, and if you need me to go back, I will. Also, if I'm using paid GPT version now and I move to Claude and move all of my content from GPT, will Claude be automatically trained or do I still need to do that?
That's a good one. Let me start out with the first question:
Yeah.
GPT versus Claude. I use GPT. I use all of them. I use GPT when I want to create images. That it's really good at GPT. I use Claude when I am dealing with volumes of PDFs or documents that it needs to read. That's where Claude comes into place. So, depending on your use case, I use a different LLM. That's just an example. GPT, I use for images, Claude, not so much. When I am dealing with folders and files that have information that I want to use immediately, that's also where Claude comes into place. And that's where Cowork, you may have heard Claude Cowork. It allows you to use the LLM to take a look at the files in your computer in a safe manner. You still have to set that up, be able to run that behind the scenes while you're doing something else. So that's where I use Claude. Now, if you are using GPT and you want to move everything towards Claude, you won't be able to move your GPTs that you created. What you can do is use a prompt. And I wish I have that. Maybe I'll send that to you, Sheila, because there is a prompt that we created so that it will pick up all of your second brain or information that GPT has learned from you from AI, OpenAI, from ChatGPT, and into Claude. And where you want to put this is in your setting. So when you go to Claude, if you go into settings and then you have instructions, just say, this is who I am, put it in a markdown file, put it into your Claude, and that's one way that you can kind of transfer the brain that you trained ChatGPT into Claude. I don't want to get too technical, but that's, yes, there is a way you can do that.
Okay. So yeah, if you want to give me that, I'll include it in the follow-up email.
Yeah. Okay.
And then also someone just asked, how can they sign up for a future? This is the first in a series where we are planning them now. So we're going to fine tune them and give you all some great information. And it won't, this was an overview, but we're going to focus on what you all want to know about, and just stay tuned for that. You will know, we will let you know about it. We are out of time, so I'm going to ask. I apologize we didn't get to all the questions. If there was something you really needed to know and want to send an email to the help email that I dropped in the chat, which will also be in the follow-up email, you can do so, and we'll try to make sure we get everything covered for you. And just know again that we're going to start doing this monthly. So it's you're gonna find out lots of information moving forward. So, Lori, do you have any last words of wisdom before I close us out today?
The one key takeaway is it is overwhelming. Trust me. I too get overwhelmed because there's so much noise. But I would just say simplify and really start out. This is where the success comes into place. Is start out with a business problem that you want to solve. Start out with a small business problem and then go through the series of steps that I mentioned where you take a look at where it is that you are burning money and energy. Take a look at the AI tools that are out there. Use your LLM to help you find those tools. Start playing around with it. Use the free version first. And then if you like it, then start doing a subscription, even if it's just a month or so. Do the monthly subscription, test it out. And over time, you'll see if it's going to give you your ROI.
Great. Thank you, Lori, so much. This
This
has
was
been
fun. I hope
fabulous.
everybody found this information valuable because I really want to help you.
We got lots of good feedback already, so I'm looking forward to moving forward on a monthly basis with you. This will be really great information for everyone. So thank you. I want to thank everyone who joined us today as well and for your questions. And remind you, you're going to receive an email with a link to the recording, to the slides, and all this fabulous the extras that Lori talked about today. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars, stay tuned to the series coming out. Or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBD resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we hope to see you all next month at our next AI session. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.